kinds of perms for all kinds of people at Cost Cutters. Now get a great-looking perm for only $21.95. A limited-time offer. Appointments recommended.
Sir, he's doing it again.
Again? Doing what again?
'92 KQRS, 'cause you're never too old to rock and roll.
Imagine a place where people can grow old without being made to feel like a burden. Is that too much to expect? As President Michael Dukakis will be on your side, to those who would cut Social Security, he'll say never. And he'll back full cost of living adjustments. Dukakis Benson, the best America is yet to come.
On Primetime News this Wednesday, Michael Dukakis takes a detour along the campaign trail and stops unexpectedly in the Twin Cities. George Bush is also in the Midwest, painting an unhealthy picture of his Democratic challenger. The Reagan administration asks the Supreme Court for another weapon in the war on drugs. And the struggle for political power in Israel following national elections there.
From the Twin Cities, this is the Upper Midwest first look at tonight's news. This is Primetime News.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rod Gray.
And I'm Heather Harden. Thanks for joining us. Well, Democratic presidential candidate Michael Dukakis is back on his campaign schedule. His wife is much better and will leave the hospital tomorrow, and Minnesota DFLers have an extra bounce in their step.
And it's all part of the whirlwind campaign activity in the Twin Cities over the past 24 hours. This photograph from the University of Minnesota shows Kitty Dukakis being visited this morning by her husband and daughter Andrea. Mrs. Dukakis no longer has a fever. Her infection is now under control, and she will leave the Twin Cities tomorrow after a third night in the hospital. Everyone was all smiles today after a dizzying campaign pit stop. Steve Goodspeed has more on that story.
It was about midnight when Mike Dukakis arrived from Kansas City at the Twin Cities airport. He quickly went downtown to visit his wife Kitty at the U of M hospital. They talked for about a half an hour before Dukakis left for his Minneapolis hotel room. By then, plans for an old-fashioned political rally were well underway. At 6 this morning, signs were going up in the Radisson Ballroom. Springsteen and the Monkees were blaring from speakers, and a crowd of more than 600 was starting to gather.
Can I hear you say it again, President Dukakis? Can you wave those signs a little higher and say, President Dukakis? Boy, that sure looks good.
The rally was a bonus opportunity not only for Minnesota Dukakis supporters in a surprisingly tough battle with Bush, but also for DFL legislators, party regulars, and U.S. Senate candidate Skip Humphrey. All hope to benefit from the spotlight that followed Dukakis here. Dukakis told enthusiastic supporters that the hospital and staff were terrific and treated his wife great.
And so do I.
Trailing in the polls, Dukakis stressed that every vote counts and reminded the crowd of Truman's surprise win over Dewey, Kennedy's close victory in 1960, and Hubert Humphrey's rally in the closing days of '68.
There are millions and millions of voters out there who haven't made up their mind. This is one election where millions of people are going to be looking and thinking and listening, and they're not going to be making up their mind until very close to the moment when they go into that polling place. And you can make a difference. For me...
After 30 minutes, the rally was over, and Dukakis was on his way to the hospital again for another visit. The candidate and his wife obliged photographers by waving from her hospital room and then had breakfast. Afterwards, Dukakis said his wife looked and felt much better. She will not join him in time for his 55th birthday tomorrow, but may on Friday.
You seem to do better on the campaign trail when she's with you.
I do, but her health is very important. And
how's her spirits right now?
Better, much better. Yeah, she's doing well, but we don't want any complications.
Thanks.
And with that, it was back in the car and off to the airport and a rally in Chicago, leaving behind Minnesota candidates who appreciated full well the turn of events in the past 24 hours.
Everyone agrees it's in poor taste to celebrate someone's viral infection, but there's also an understanding here that the antibiotics for Kitty Dukakis may be just what the doctor ordered for a number of campaigns here in Minnesota. Steve Goodspeed, Channel 9 News, Minneapolis.
Well, campaign staffers say Kitty Dukakis will join her husband in Chicago at the end of the week and be part of a campaign swing to the West Coast. Meanwhile, Mrs. Dukakis apparently found a new friend during her stay, 10-year-old Patrick Richardson. Patrick is also staying at the U of M hospital after a bone marrow transplant last month. The fifth grader from Illinois sent Mrs. Dukakis a picture of himself, a Bullwinkle balloon, and a letter. He wrote that he is a Democrat and hopes her husband wins on Tuesday. Patrick's father said the letter was his son's idea, but the party affiliation may have been a matter of timing.
I'm kind of wondering how he came upon Democrat, and maybe if Mrs. Bush was upstairs, he'd have been a Republican. I don't know.
Mrs. Dukakis sent a picture of herself with a personal greeting and a thank you. However, the two will not be able to meet before Mrs. Dukakis leaves. Patrick remains in isolation while waiting to see if his bone marrow transplant is a success.
Success is on the minds of many Republicans tonight, with the majority of polls now in their favor. Supporters of George Bush and Dan Quayle are talking about a possible landslide come Election Day. Our Politics 88 poll shows Dukakis gaining slightly, but the Republican ticket holding on to an 8-point lead. Frank Fahrenkopf, the GOP party head, says that the Democrats are in worse shape than they were in 1984. President Reagan won handily over Walter Mondale. Meanwhile, George Bush spent the day traveling through a pair of Midwestern states, and as Gene Randall reports, the vice president isn't letting up on his Democratic rival.
The scene was Grand Rapids, Michigan, where former President Gerald Ford told his hometown crowd he unequivocally endorsed George Bush, that Michael Dukakis was a throwback to the past.
You know what the Democratic candidate for the presidency is today? He's an image of George McGovern, Walter Mondale, and Jimmy Carter.
Bush, his voice apparently hoarse from campaigning, kept up his attack on Michael Dukakis as too liberal for American voters, and someone who had launched what he called a free media blitz.
And it seemed like he appeared on every television show except Wheel of Fortune. You see, he was afraid that Vanna might turn over the L word. So
this was the first of the vice president's 2 stops in Michigan Wednesday, but then this is a crucial state for Michael Dukakis, and polls show the electoral situation is fluid, with at least one showing Dukakis is ahead of Bush here. Perhaps stung by news reports of his failure to mention running mate Dan Quayle's name on Tuesday in Quayle's home state of Indiana, Bush on Wednesday said Quayle was doing a great job.
Steel gets tempered by fire, and my young running mate has been through the fire, and his head is up and his chin is high, and he is doing a great job.
It was another George Bush day without a news conference. His last was in mid-October. Instead, there was a series of satellite interviews with local TV stations in 5 major state markets. The campaign paid for the satellite time. In fact, it was a campaign day dominated by rallies, meant to produce pictures that would look impressive on the 6 o'clock local news shows. In Prairie View, Illinois, outside Chicago, Bush even appealed to a gym full of high school students for support, though most were too young to vote.
Choose as president the person who represents your values, your dreams, your hopes for the United States, and I am that man.
Was it symbolic of his call for Democratic support? This was Adlai Stevenson High School. And so, off to Michigan. George Bush is spending time this final campaign week in key states as people feel he is poised to win. He is also in states like Michigan, where his support is considered soft. The idea, defeat Michael Dukakis in at least one state Dukakis probably must win to be elected. Gene Randall, CNN with the Bush campaign, Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Michael Dukakis is getting it from both barrels today as President Reagan is also out stumping for the Republicans. Earlier in Cleveland, he urged voters to reject what he calls far-out liberalism and levied heavy attacks on Dukakis' On Your Side campaign.
Yes, the liberals were offsides in 1980. They're even further offsides now. And on November 8th, the people are going to throw the penalty flag and let the liberals know they're so far offside that they're way out of bounds.
Voter turnout in Minnesota next Tuesday is expected to be far above the national average.
But at the same time, one of the lowest for the state. Secretary of State Joan Groh predicts about 67.5% of Minnesota's eligible voters will go to the polls next week. That would be the lowest turnout for a presidential election since the state began keeping election records back in 1950. The lowest previous turnout was 69.5% in 1984. The modern-day high of 83.9% came in 1956. Minnesota, by the way, has led the nation in voter turnout in the last 3 presidential elections. Some predict this year the national average could be 50% or lower. Well, still ahead tonight, we'll tell you how the Supreme Court may get more involved in the war on drugs.
Also, an overnight drug sting in St. Paul uncovers a gang connection to dealers.
And we'll also show you how St. Paul police are honoring comrades who have died in the line of duty. Stay with us.
Amber's $1.99 jumbo breakfast. 2 farm-fresh eggs, 2 buttermilk pancakes, 2 country sausage links, and 2 strips of hardwood cured bacon, only $1.99. Embers, big taste, small check.
LensCrafters crafts your quality glasses in about an hour by putting the whole lab right in the store, so you can see better, faster, in about an hour.
Now, LensCrafters will accept buy one, get a second pair free coupons from any eyewear store. And we don't limit our offer to a small selection like many stores do. At LensCrafters, you can redeem your coupons for any one of the 3,000 frames in every store. Redeem your eyewear coupons at LensCrafters today.
Famous Footwear guarantees you the best shoe prices in Minneapolis.
Every day, for every member of the family. Reebok, Nunn-Bush, Sperry, Cherokee, over 75 famous brand names. And now to celebrate the grand opening of Famous Footwear's newest store, buy 1 pair of shoes at our everyday low price and get a second pair of comparable value for half price. The grand opening half price sale.
Now at all Minneapolis area Famous Footwear stores.
Shop Menards now for big savings on Masonite paneling. Menards is the Midwest's #1 source for Masonite paneling. Whether you want contemporary or a more traditional look, create a handsome working wall with wood grain pegboard or give your home the authentic look of brick. You'll find Masonite paneling on sale now, priced from $8.88 to $14.88. That's Masonite paneling on sale now at Menards.
We're helping you build America's heartland. That's Menards.
The issue of mandatory drug testing at work was in front of the Supreme Court today.
President Reagan sent some of his top administration officials to argue for those tests.
But as Candy Crowley reports, others feel it's a violation of people's rights.
Giving high profile to the day, Attorney General Richard Thornburg made the unusual move of arguing one of the cases himself. Thornburg told the justices this is a case about railway safety, the hazards created by use of drugs and alcohol by those in charge of trains.
The safety indications in the railroad case were threefold in nature. One, the safety of employees and fellow employees, the second being the traveling public, and the third being the public at large.
Railway employee lawyer Lawrence Mann told the justices neither the alcohol nor the drug test can demonstrate impairment. Afterwards, Mann warned of the profound effect should the drug testing program stand.
If you are in an automobile accident, if you are caught for speeding, that could trigger a test if the court ruled in favor of the government in this case.
In the second case involving drug testing for customs workers seeking promotion, Solicitor General Charles Freed said it was a symbolic way to assure the public that the agency responsible for stopping drug smuggling is itself drug-free. But Lois Williams, representing customs workers, called the tests a humiliating invasion of privacy. The program, she said, is almost perverse because it requires drug testing for those workers doing so well they are up for promotion. Justice Antonin Scalia zeroed in, asking Williams whether submitting to urinalysis was any more an invasion of privacy than the complete disclosure of personal finances required of top-level government officials. If you are, said Scalia, you're going to lose.
This process, the excretory functions are symbolically very important in our society, and we do not like to have them intruded upon. And when we do, we take it as especially degrading and demeaning.
It is a dilemma, how to balance an individual's right against unreasonable search and seizure with public safety. But for one father who lost his 20-year-old daughter in a train wreck involving an engineer with marijuana in his system, there is no dilemma.
They don't have a right to these jobs if they can't accept as terms of employment the need to be tested for all our safety. They should find other jobs.
Both cases heard by the Supreme Court deal with the government's authority to order drug tests in the workplace. Eventual rulings will not address the issue of drug testing in the private workplace, though it will have a psychological impact on the growing number of private companies wanting to drug test their employees. Candy Crowley for CNN, Washington.
St. Paul police expect to make more arrests in connection with an undercover investigation of drug dealing. They picked up dozens of suspects yesterday in what officials are calling the city's largest narcotic sweep in 5 years. And as Jeff Bellion reports tonight, police have uncovered a gang connection to some of the dealers.
Here's just a small sample of the local drug trade. St. Paul police confiscated $15,000 in cash and 2 pounds of cocaine as they arrested 45 people overnight. It was part of an undercover operation with more arrests to come. About a third of the suspects are believed to have ties with a Los Angeles street gang known as the Crips.
We had several houses that were occupied by the Crip gang members, and we've executed several search warrants, and we're keeping them on the move. We've just heard today that there's a couple other houses now that are gang related, and we're attempting to do something with those also.
Police say gang drug dealing is not a major problem yet, but it's here, and so is the trouble that comes with it. On Monday, a 17-year-old gang member was shot and killed at this Minneapolis apartment building. Police think he may have been dealing drugs at the time. In this St. Paul neighborhood, several gang members are known to hang out. Tony McGill says he knows some of them, and he knows why they sell drugs.
Everybody has their way of, I guess, living, and to do what they got to do to get by, to do what they got to do to be satisfied.
Police say there's big money to be made here, especially for outside gangs like the Crips.
There is, because drugs are so much cheaper on the West Coast. What they buy on the West Coast for $5, they can sell here for $20.
While the Twin Cities are far from being ruled by gangs, with so much money on the line in drug dealing, police say the problem can only get worse. Jeff Bellion, Channel 9 News, the Twin Cities.
Development along the shore of Lake Calhoun is in the news again. A citizens group today says it will both help defend the city of Minneapolis and at the same time sue the city of Minneapolis in separate lawsuits. The group, called ELECT, is made up of homeowners living near Minneapolis lakes. Members say the city isn't enforcing current state law that restricts tall buildings along the lake shores.
And if the developers are permitted to go ahead and build, the area around our lakes is going to become a concrete boardwalk, and instead of being called the City of the Lakes, will be known as the City of Boardwalks.
ELECT is also asking to be named as a partner with Minneapolis in a case filed against the city by an apartment developer. That developer is asking for $22 million in losses it says it incurred in limiting the height of a proposed building.
One of the 5 staff members at the University of Minnesota Hospital subpoenaed by Dr. Stuart Jamison says she has filed a sexual harassment suit against him. Jamison, who was fired 2 months ago, has gone to court to find out who leaked damaging information about him to a newspaper last summer. Nancy Gruber, a nursing supervisor, and the others have filed affidavits to prevent Jamison from forcing them to testify. Their lawyers say Jamison's suit is an improper effort to go on a legal fishing expedition. The judge has taken the matter under advisement and is expected to have a decision in about 2 weeks.
Meanwhile, an investigator for the Hennepin County Medical Examiner's Office has admitted to giving confidential information to a newspaper this summer. Jim Hunt said he did it because he believes some of the findings by the medical examiner were leading to innocent people being sent to jail. The claims led to Hennepin County calling for an outside review of the office, but a 3-member panel found no fault in the procedures used in those investigations.
Day 3 of testimony today in the trial of Duluth Mayor John Fido centered on expenses that the mayor claimed as city business. City Finance Director David Talbot testified about how travel expenses were processed and that the city would pay Fido's city credit cards except in those cases where personal items were charged. Much of the paperwork surrounding the mayor's 1985 expenses was entered as evidence. Fido faces a total of 22 counts of misusing public funds. Testimony is expected to last until Thanksgiving.
4 flight attendants at Northwest Airlines have filed a lawsuit against the Teamsters Union. They say the nearly 2,500 flight attendants based in the hub cities of Detroit and Memphis are being denied fair representation, and they're asking the union to set up new locals in each city. Right now, they are all being handled by a division office in Detroit. The union spokesman says that the Teamsters have been looking into the economic feasibility of putting new locals in the 2 cities. Meanwhile, no date has been set for that hearing. Well, the man who allegedly posed as a priest and preyed on victims of a Northwest crash in Detroit last year was in court today in Canada. 47-year-old John Irish is charged with defrauding some of the victims of Flight 255 after consoling them at the accident scene. Canadian officials say he wore a black suit and a white collar, claiming he was from the Church of the Good Shepherd in Denver. Police also suspect Irish of posing as a reporter and private investigator at another plane crash 2 months later. When we come back, we'll have a special look at a state congressman, Bruce Vento, and the man who's trying to end his 18-year reign in office.
But first, some advice from the U.S. Post Office for voters who may be absent on Election Day.
Presenting World Dating Records, the world's most exciting date.
We're eating dinner, and he whips out this bat and it says, Mr. Excitement.
Chuck Woolery brings you romantic records on Love Connection.
Weekdays at 1 and weeknights at 10 on Channel 9.
It hurts. Sinus pressure and headache. It really, really hurts. A painkiller alone can't stop it. A nasal decongestant alone can't stop it. Sinutab can stop it. Sinutab combines the painkiller in Tylenol with the decongestant in Sudafed to give you more than either one alone. Sinutab is the #1 sinus medicine for a good reason. It stops the pain. It stops the pain. Sinutab stops the pain.
Got a little bit of fuzz? Turn on a clothes shaver. Got a whole lot of fuzz? Then you need a Clothes Shaver Plus from Windmere. The larger head and rotating blades shave off pills and fuzz for most any fabric. Cord or cordless. Makes it easy for upholstery, even drapes. It saves your clothes and money, too. The Clothes Shaver and the Clothes Shaver Plus from Windmere. Available at Pomida.
Health Break, presented by Trident. Sweet treats can actually help you think. More food for thought after this.
Every year, the average American consumes over 125 pounds of sugar. And there's no better gum than great-tasting Trident to help fight cavities when you chew after sugary snacks. Trident, millions of teeth, can't be wrong. Chewing great-tasting Trident after sugary snacks helps fight cavities. Now, repeat after me. Chocolate a la Trident. Donuts a la Trident. Pie a la Trident. Trident, millions of teeth, can't be wrong.
In a recent study, students who ate a sweet snack before a test scored 20% better on memory and alertness than those who ate nothing. An increase in blood sugar can boost brain power for up to 2 hours. That's real sweet news, isn't it? I'm Jim Palmer for Health Break.
Minnesota's 4th District has had the same DFL congressman for 18 years.
And now an independent Republican is saying that he's ready to help voters make a change. Kevin Burns reports.
Minnesota's 4th District has been a DFL stronghold for 40 years. Incumbent Bruce Vento has represented the area since 1970.
Environmental concerns, of course, are at the core of many of the topics I work on because of my responsibilities and interest in Congress. Let's reauthorize the Clean Air Act. Let's deal with the solid waste problems. And I think keeping in mind that there is an energy problem on a global basis and we still haven't addressed it.
Vento is a staunch liberal who in the past 2 years has won passage of a new Mississippi River Parkway bill, a pipeline safety program, and he's recovered money originally given to Amhoist when it left town.
As this money is returned to the federal treasury, the taxpayers have a victory.
Vento favors cutbacks in the space shuttle and SDI programs, and he supports having U.S. allies pay for more of the cost of European security.
I never really intended to run. What I intended to do is what professors do, that's to say, do research.
But the more he learned about Vento, the more Ian Maitland disliked.
I believe that Bruce Vento, in a nutshell, is an isolationist, a protectionist, and a tool of special interests.
The 44-year-old Maitland is a management professor at the U of M. His priorities are economic prosperity, national security, and global peace.
Many incumbent members of Congress attend only to local district matters like getting bridges built, getting contracts for local companies and the like. I think the health of any individual congressional district, its prosperity, depends upon national policies that affect all the rest of the United States.
Maitland is a sharp contrast to Vento. The challenger is considered to be the most conservative of all congressional candidates from Minnesota. He's accepting no political action committee money and claims Vento's allegiance to PACs has loosened his ties with 4th District residents.
Well, this is the world according to my Republican opponent. I mean, the real world, we're following the procedures are set up in the rules, in the laws, and that's what we're doing, nothing less, nothing more. As a matter of fact, we spend a lot less on our campaign than most candidates for Congress. In fact, most incumbent members of Congress in Minnesota spend more than I do.
Although neither candidate is predicting victory, at this point, Maitland says his experience this election should make him a force to reckon with in 1990. Kevin Burns, Channel 9 News.
St. Paul police officers who have been killed in the line of duty are being remembered in a special way. Today, a Hall of Honor was unveiled at police headquarters. Since 1882, 27 St. Paul policemen have lost their lives in uniform. Most recently, Officer John O'Brien, who died in 1981. The hall is named after him. His wife and 3 children were on hand for the dedication ceremony. Perhaps Police Chief Bill McCutcheon put it best, saying no memorial or display can pay back what these officers gave in performance of their duty.
A new report from the St. Paul Ramsey Medical Center says an average of 1 to 2 newborn infants a week have traces of cocaine in their blood. In addition, Hennepin County Medical Center says it sees 3 or 4 infants a week with the drug in their blood. Officials say these cases were unheard of a couple of years ago. One specialist from Ramsey County Child Protection Unit says typical cases involve an unmarried mother in her mid-20s with 1 or 2 children.
An estimated 37 million people under the age of 65 don't have medical insurance.
Tonight we begin a 3-part series on who the uninsured are and what it means to those of us who are covered. Gary Schweitzer reports.
Dorothy Glasser is no stranger to doctors' offices. She's a nurse who counsels people with chronic illnesses. But today she visits as a patient. She's had lupus since age 21. She recently suffered a mild stroke, and now at age 37, she's fighting cervical cancer. But she's also fighting the insurance industry. They won't cover her because she's too sick, and she earns too much to qualify for government assistance.
I'm in what I feel a catch-22 situation because I'm ill and definitely most days do not feel well enough to work, but I must work because I have to provide an income in order to pay for my medical expenses.
And those expenses are staggering. Her medicines alone cost $500 a month. A single visit to the doctor can run over $200, and she faces surgery, which will cost her $2,500.
I was devastated knowing I didn't have insurance. I was devastated with where do I get this extra energy to live every day, to cope, to improve the quality of my life.
And she's not alone. An estimated 37 million Americans also must face illness without any medical insurance.
Princeton economist Uwe Reinhardt, a German immigrant, says America is the land of equal opportunity in many areas, but not in health care.
The American people are just as nice and loving as everyone else. They're just not well informed. They believe, and have believed, the one-liner that says we have the best health system in the world.
America does have the very best when it comes to high-tech life-saving medicine, but it's the only industrialized nation besides South Africa that doesn't guarantee citizens a minimum level of health care. Instead, there's a patchwork system. Medicare helps the elderly, and among those under 65, 2/3 have employer-provided health benefits. About 11% are covered by Medicaid or other public programs, and about 8% have private insurance. That leaves 16% who fall through the cracks. Most of them have jobs and incomes above the poverty line, but cannot afford insurance. Many are children.
This image of the lazy, asocial type is the small minority of the uninsured. So it's totally the wrong image.
Their numbers have been increasing by 1 million a year since 1980. The main reason, most agree, is rising health care costs. In our next report, a look at how efforts to curb those costs have, in some ways, only made matters worse. Gary Schweitzer reporting.
Efforts continue in the Twin Cities to get more aid to hurricane victims in Nicaragua.
We'll have a look at that story coming up next, and some weather we all can breathe a sigh of relief over. We'll be right back.
We've got you covered with style, designer style. We've got you covered with savings from 25 to 40% off every day. We've got you covered with natural fabrics in coats, suits, and sportswear. We've got you covered with selection, simply thousands of coats to choose from. We've got you covered with value that endures season after season. So coat yourself in selection, quality, and value, now at the Coat Company.
Friends, we're having a Halloween sale at the Twin Cities' only real truck center right here at Viking Chevrolet in downtown Fridley. And yes, cash rebates up to $600. Look at this, a brand new 1989 Chevrolet S10 pickup. After the rebate, you pay only $7,288, or you drive it home today for only $129 a month. Only at the truck center, only at Viking Chevrolet. Call us, 786-6100, or we'll see you here.
A lot of accident claims never get a fair hearing because many people think you have to be rich to have a lawyer. But it can cost you plenty to settle your own claim, and you don't have to. At Hyatt Legal Services, we took the fear out of legal fees. Before you sign something you don't understand, come in and talk to one of our lawyers. We'll help you fight for what you're entitled to. I'm Joel Hyatt, and you have my word on it. We took the fear out of legal fees across the country and in your neighborhood.
When Mom gets a cough and cold, everyone suffers.
Mom, Dad's ironing.
Time to doctor that cough with Robitussin.
Look, Mom's feeling better.
Robitussin, recommended by more doctors, pharmacists, and Dr. Mom.
Now there's Dimetap Plus for throbbing, aching, feverish colds that feel like this. Dimetap Plus, good advice for the worst colds.
Well, after enduring some bitter cold, this was a very pleasant day. It felt more like the beginning of November or even October, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's actually been kind of a slow warm-up for us. We've been advertising temperatures in the 50s and near 60, and we didn't quite crack the 50-degree mark today. The upper atmosphere actually has been warming faster than we have here at the surface.
But the winds have made it feel cooler than
Right, the winds have. We're going to have a little less wind tomorrow, and I think temperatures will be a little bit warmer, so tomorrow should be even nicer. We'll get to that in just a minute. First, let's check the statistics for today, and actually today was very typical of the first part of November. We ended up with a high of about 49, which is right on the mark, and 27. The overnight low just 3 shy of the average of 30. 72 and 9 are a record high and low for this date. Sunrise is at 6:54 tomorrow, sets just before 5 o'clock. Our current conditions include a cloudy sky, 42 degrees, the dew point now at 27, so our relative humidity at about half, 55%. Winds are out of the southeast at 9, and the pressure is falling at 29.71. Here's the way it looks from the from space right now, from the satellite. You can see some broken clouds across Minnesota. We have a trough of low pressure just to the west of us, and that's what's going to be swinging through during the night tonight. Not a lot of moisture for this thing to work with. There is a little bit, so we'll throw a slight chance of a brief shower in late tonight as that trough swings on through. But here's where most of the moisture is bottled up down around the Gulf of Mexico. Best chance will be along this warm front later on tonight as that shifts in an easterly direction. This area of clearing should be heading in here for tomorrow, so we are looking for some sunshine. Meantime, off to the west, another big storm moving on shore there with wind gusts to 70 miles an hour in Oregon and Washington. We might see some weather from that by Friday. And here's another big storm which has been pounding New England. Quite a huge system, producing a lot of snow over portions of New York and some heavy rains as well. Still a little bit of rain falling up in Maine right now and up in portions of eastern New England. And Portland, Maine picked up over 4 inches of rain from this system. So indeed a powerful one. A lot of moisture wrapped up in there. And some portions of upstate New York picked up nearly 15 inches of snow in some areas. Back to the west is where most of the precipitation is now occurring with that next system in Northern California and sections of Oregon. Here in the center part of the country, just not a whole lot going on. Highs again were very warm just to the southwest of us today. In North Platte, Nebraska, they set a record high temperature. Lubbock, Texas also set a record high. We're very close to this warm air. It's going to shift slowly southeast, so we'll be right on the edge of it for probably the next day or two, so temperatures should be moderating just a bit. Here's where most of the cold stuff is. Highs only in the 30s and 40s over the eastern Great Lakes. Temperatures across the region right now are falling into the 30s in many areas, including International Falls, Duluth, Rochester, and Eau Claire. St. Cloud hanging in there with 42, Alexandria at 42. Still some 50s showing up out in western South Dakota where they were in the 70s for high temperatures today. Tomorrow that trough should swing on through into central Wisconsin, maybe a few light showers developing ahead of it late tonight for eastern Minnesota. Best chance into eastern Wisconsin as it gets just a little bit more moisture in it. Heaviest rainfall and thunderstorm activity will be in the lower part of the Mississippi Valley in Arkansas and Louisiana. Still be some snow moving northeast into eastern Canada, and that next storm system will be producing quite a bit of shower and wind activity across the Pacific Northwest. Here it looks quiet though. Temperatures will be moderating just a little bit. Highs low 60s for southwestern Minnesota, mid to upper 50s for the central part of the state, including the Twin Cities, probably only remaining in the upper 40s though for the Arrowhead and sections of northern Wisconsin. Our Twin Cities forecast for tonight calling for variably cloudy skies, a slight chance of a brief shower late. Lows will be in the middle to upper 30s with a southeast breeze about 5 to 15 miles an hour. For tomorrow, then, we'll look for skies to become sunny after a few morning clouds. Should be a little warmer, 55. If enough sunshine, maybe touching 60. We'll go for upper 50s, west to southwest winds, 6 to 12. For tomorrow night, increasing clouds, lows 35 to 40 as that next system blows in from the Pacific. It'll be a mild one, though. Variably cloudy skies, slight chance of a shower Friday with highs into the lower 50s. So at least looks like temperatures will be a little bit warmer than average for the next couple days.
Okay, we got to enjoy it because snow can't be too far away.
Probably not.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Well, the victims of Hurricane Joan are getting some help from the Twin Cities tonight.
1,000 cases of clothing, powdered milk, and medical supplies have now been boxed up and loaded onto a semi headed for Nicaragua. 300,000 Nicaraguans were left homeless by the storm last month. 71 were killed. These Minnesotans work for a group called Quest for Peace. They say they've had no trouble getting their supplies through, even though the U.S. has imposed economic sanctions against Nicaragua's current government.
We're very confident that this is going to get into the hands of those who have been most affected by the hurricane, and beyond that, we don't have concerns.
If we had a different administration and that was sympathy to Nicaragua, we could probably all be shipping it all down together. But unfortunately, all the money has to come out of our own pockets, and we have no support from any of the branches of the military or the government.
Quest for Peace has been helping the people of Nicaragua for 10 years. They say they still need money and medical supplies for the hurricane victims. If you'd like to help, send donations to the Sabathany Center at 310 East 38th Street, room 206, Minneapolis, 55409. And in other international news, some jockeying for political power in Israel. A wealthy heiress helps Imelda Marcos beat Baal in New York. And some secrecy over the space shuttle Atlantis as it waits to blast off. We'll be right back.
There's a naturally decaffeinated coffee that's so fresh it's actually vacuum sealed while it's still warm in the bag. Sanka. Fresh ground, smooth tasting, and now in a new vacuum pack. Sanka decaffeinated coffee. Nothing's fresher.
On the next Simon & Simon.
Everybody down! Get down!
Even the blind can see.
I can identify the killers by the sound of their voices.
As Rick and AJ enter a world of darkness.
I have a plan. Good.
Filled with killers and con men.
Rent a fuzz.
And the only eyewitness hasn't long to live.
Come on. You're letting them get away.
A vision of terror on the next Simon & Simon.
Wednesday at 10:35 on Channel 9, the real superstation.
Carson Peary Scott makes carpet and upholstery cleaning easier than ever before with the amazing new Power Steamer by Bissell. The Power Steamer lets you deep clean your carpets and upholstery rent-free anytime you like. The Power Steamer shoots warm cleaning solution, while powerful suction pulls the liquid and dirt back out. Gets carpeting deep down clean, yet fast pickup action won't soak carpet or upholstery. Don't rent, own your own Bissell Power Steamer and get the deep cleaning results you'd expect from a professional. Take home your Power Steamer today. $179.99 at Carson Peary Scott.
The Minnesota Miracle Car is waiting for you at Minor Ford, an all-wheel drive Ford Tempo that could take on a Minnesota winter. List price is $12,380, but Minor's price is an incredibly low $10,795.
That's a minor miracle.
No, it's an all-wheel drive Ford Tempo for only $10,795 at Minor Ford, 694 and Silver Lake Road, New Brighton.
That original taste. Only one place, only one taste that's original. Kentucky Fried Chicken. What a taste. Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's the place. Kentucky Fried Chicken. Kentucky Fried Chicken. The original recipe. Oh, what a taste. Kentucky Fried Chicken. We do chicken right.
So far, so good for the Space Shuttle Atlantis.
The ship is sitting ready to go on its launch pad at the Kennedy Space Center.
But as John Zarella reports tonight, its mission isn't getting the attention like the last shuttle launch.
Atlantis, attached to its external fuel tank and solid rocket boosters, rolled out from the vehicle assembly building at 1:23 a.m. But unlike the hoopla that surrounded the July 4th rollout of Discovery, there were no ceremonies, no cheering crowds. It is back to business here at the Kennedy Space Center.
Yes, we're back to, I won't say business as usual, but doing back into what I call a routine operation with the additional safeguards.
At daybreak, Atlantis had just about completed the 4-mile journey to Launch Pad 39B. For the next 3.5 weeks, it will undergo final testing and preparation before its scheduled flight the end of November. NASA officials say they are pleased with how smoothly the processing of the vehicle has gone for this flight. This flight will be the third for Atlantis, the newest orbiter in the fleet, and it will be the second time Atlantis carries a secret military payload. It is believed Atlantis and crew of 5 astronauts will lift into orbit a sophisticated spy satellite for the Defense Department. The exact time of launch and the length of the mission are also being kept under wraps. But McCartney, a former Air Force general and now director of the Kennedy Space Center, defends the need for secrecy and use of the shuttle for such missions.
I'd say to the American public that it's a very important mission, as all missions are, and the purpose of this mission is to make our great country a more secure place to live.
After the Atlantis mission, NASA will take a 2-month break of sorts, while engineers finish preparations for the second flight of Discovery, now set for February of next year. The relatively problem-free preparation of Atlantis for this flight is a positive sign for NASA, but officials know it will take many more successful rollouts and flights before the space agency can declare itself completely recovered from the Challenger accident. John Zarella, CNN, at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida.
And in Israel tonight, both major political parties are out drumming up more support after yesterday's elections found no clear winner. As Mike Greenspan reports, both parties are now after the religious vote.
They want more money for religious education. They want stricter observance of religious law. And they even want convicted members of a Jewish terror group released from prison. The religious parties know exactly what they want.
I want to see us a Holy Land.
After an impressive showing at the polls, these Orthodox Jews are in the driver's seat. Without them, neither Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir's Likud party nor Shimon Peres' Labor can achieve a majority in Israel's parliament. So the religious parties spent Wednesday shopping around for the best deal. Here's how it works.
We have to see the conditions, and then we bring for them the conditions, and after bringing for them the conditions, we will have to bring for the Council of Sages, and they will decide for us what to do.
Chances are the sages and other religious leaders will say, go with Likud. That won't surprise the rival Labor Party.
They have a better chance to form a coalition than we have.
The Likud is also courting several right-wing parties with demands of their own.
It's important to continue the settling of the areas of Judea and Samaria and the Gaza district.
That is, the occupied territories, where one man was shot to death Wednesday by Israeli troops and at least 20 others wounded as Palestinians observed a general strike. A Likud government would likely take a harder line against the 11-month-old uprising, and many Palestinians fear it will block the road to peace.
The future is bad, I believe.
The ultra-Orthodox parties don't care much about the peace process. They do care about imposing their will on secular Israelis. But non-religious Jews are the Likud's principal backers, and Shamir risks losing their support if he goes too far towards satisfying the religious party's demands. Mike Greenspan, CNN, Jerusalem.
Former Philippine First Lady Imelda Marcos is stuck in New York for at least one more night. A friend posted the $5 million bail money she needed today, but uncompleted paperwork stalled her release. Marcos, along with her husband, are accused of stealing $100 million from the Filipino government. Dave Monsees has more.
Since Monday, Imelda Marcos has just been marking time in her $1,800 a day suite at the Waldorf Towers. The federal court she appeared in Monday demanded $5 million bail, but she didn't have that much that wasn't already claimed by the Philippine government. She needed a friend, and she found one in tobacco heiress Doris Duke. Duke's lawyer told the court Wednesday more than $5 million in municipal bonds would ensure Mrs. Marcos' return for trial.
It was Miss Duke's idea in order to help her friends in the Marcos family, especially Imelda Marcos.
Doris Duke is reputed to be one of the richest women in America. Duke, as in Duke University and American Brands, and she is a longtime friend of Imelda Marcos. They conferred in the Marcos suite Tuesday, Mrs. Duke agreeing to post the bail. In court, the Marcos attorneys, expecting the paperwork may take some days, asked that Mrs. Marcos no longer be confined to New York City so that she could visit friends in New Jersey and Rhode Island. But when Attorney Robinson said bail could be posted Wednesday, all travel restrictions were lifted.
The intent for the permission to travel was to allow the two ladies to be together.
Marcos attorneys, though, said she might stick around a while, perhaps through the weekend.
If indeed all of the paperwork is completed, shall we say, today, then Ms. Marcos has the option of traveling home immediately to Honolulu or of spending time on this coast visiting with her friends.
Her trial might not begin for a year, and there are still questions as to how long Ferdinand Marcos' failing health will keep him out of court. But it appears Imelda Marcos has at least found a friend to underwrite much of this trip to New York. Doris Duke has paid her transportation as well as bail. Not only did Doris Duke post the $5 million bond for Imelda Marcos, she was also the one who provided the private jet that brought Mrs. Marcos here from Honolulu. And if Mrs. Marcos travels to other states from New York during her visit now, she will do so in Doris Duke's private personal helicopter. Dave Monsees, CNN, New York.
We'll be right back.
What's better than a sofa and love seat for $5.99? A sofa and love seat, 2 tables, a lamp for $5.99. All total, that's a 50% savings. Where else but Slumberland can you get this coordinated designer look for so little? Right now, when you buy this handsome 2-piece group with velvet pillows, you'll get 2 brass and glass tables and lamp with brass accents absolutely free. But wait, need room for those unexpected guests? For just $100 more, you can get the sleep sofa. Come to Slumberland, where you always get a good buy.
It's Wally the Beer Man, and I'm all dressed up to help celebrate one of the biggest events of the year. You're right, it's the Liquor Depot's huge 14th anniversary, and what a celebration it's going to be. With the largest selection of your favorite beverages. Don't miss out on this spectacular event. And these super low prices, you won't believe them. It's time now to stock up for the holiday season or that special fall party. Remember, shop between October 24th through November 5th and save like you've never have before. We're the Liquor Depot at 1010 Washington Avenue South.
Now at Dairy Queen, it's the DQ Homestyle Ultimate. We start with a juicy homestyle patty, add melted cheese, and yet another homestyle patty. Then we top it off with our own tasty sauce, savory bacon, ripe tomatoes, and fresh lettuce, too. You can see why it's the ultimate taste. Try one today. You won't want to miss it. The new DQ Homestyle Ultimate.
We treat you right.
It happened after the prom.
Hey, check out the girl in blue.
The attack of the taco.
Whoa!
Oh, no. All over the rented shirt. Next day, Mom is steamed.
Taco sauce is dried into the pleats.
And my luck, she's out of her liquid stuff. I run out for some, but get the wrong stuff.
Right Stuff. Liquid Tide gets out lots of dried-in stains other liquids can't.
Well, guess what? This stuff works.
If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide.
Tonight in business, factory orders for manufactured goods fell in September due largely to a big drop in demand for aircraft. According to the Commerce Department, factory orders dropped 1.9%. In other business news tonight, sales of new single-family homes have posed their biggest decline in 16 months with a plunge of 7.8% in September. The slide in sales was accompanied by a rise in prices. The median cost of a new home in September was $118,900, a jump of 8.1% over August. The Gillette Company will lay off 125 employees of its Lustre Silk division and move that Minneapolis operation to St. Paul. Administrative and sales functions will be moved to Boston. New smokeless cigarettes by RJR Nabisco are being opposed by the American Medical Association, which claims they must be certified as safe for human consumption by the federal government before they can be sold. A judge in Minneapolis has granted a request that all Pillsbury shareholders be represented as a class in a lawsuit filed against the Minneapolis-based food and restaurant group. Hennepin County District Judge Thomas Carey ruled that all shareholders of record as of October 17, 1988, will be represented in legal proceedings that have been taken against Pillsbury by Grand Metropolitan PLC. In stocks of national interest today, some of the losers were Honda, Hitachi, and Atlas. In stocks of local interest, some of the gainers were Lee Data, CVN, and Munsingware. Some of the losers were MEI, St. Jude Medical, and Meredith. The Dow Jones closed up today nearly 6 points, stopping at 2157 on moderate trading of 161 million shares. Well, we had promised to bring you part 2 of year-end tax planning tonight. We've run a little short of time, so we will promise to bring you that tomorrow. Now, turning to sports, Chicago Bears head coach Mike Ditka is hospitalized in serious condition.
Perry is next with more details on that and also footage from today's state soccer playoffs. Stick around.
The closet space is incredible.
I know. We wouldn't have to change that much.
Did you get a look at that kitchen?
Well, what do you think?
It's a steal. The money part would be a breeze.
Yeah, I wonder why it's so cheap.
Well, it doesn't have gas heat or gas appliances.
Comfortable, affordable, efficient natural gas. Ask for it.
Let's hold out for a place with natural gas.
Days looking new and bright, and you're gonna start it right. Folgers starting to brew, the aroma's calling you. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Mornings are brighter with mountain-grown Folgers because mountain-grown coffee has more enticing aroma than any other kind.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Their legacy was vengeance. Marlon Brando, Robert De Niro, The Godfather, the complete novel for television.
Premieres Wednesday, November 9th at 7.
Well, they say all things have to come to an end. It did tonight in St. Paul.
Even the good things. The boys soccer team at St. Paul Academy had a 53-game unbeaten streak, one of the longest in the country, plus two state championships. It ended today thanks to Park of Cottage Grove, the teams meeting in the state semifinals at the Metrodome. The SBA Spartans struck first Manuel Lagos, the player of the year. And you can see why with these moves makes it 1-0 SPA. It was 2-1 St. Paul Academy when Don Grammont scores on the penalty shot and the game goes into overtime, and finally it was settled in a shootout. The streak in the game came down to this last chance shot by Travis Lee of SPA, but he is stopped by all-Metro goalie Aaron Nelson. So the senior goalie from the Indians is successful there, and it's on to the state championship for Park. They beat SBA today 3-2, that final score. They'll play the winner of the second game, Apple Valley, leading Armstrong 1-0 third quarter. Girls semifinal action, Roseville won. They'll play Apple Valley in the finals, which are tomorrow night at the Metrodome. It's been a rough year for the Chicago Bears. Even though the team is 7-2, they lost several key players by trade, defection, or injury, and today Their leader went down, suffering a mild heart attack. Head coach Mike Ditka had chest pains after a workout this morning at the training facility in Lake Forest, a Chicago suburb, and he was rushed to the hospital. Ditka is very intense, especially during a game, prowling the sidelines like a hungry bear. He is listed in serious condition, and he's out indefinitely.
We did do a non-invasive study of looking at his heart function this morning, which is called a cardiac ultrasound, and certainly the pump function of his heart is excellent. So that's an excellent sign for prognostically.
He's still a part of this ball club and will be, but it's our understanding that he's going to have to take a back seat a little bit for at least a short while. As to how long we aren't clear on that right now.
I've met with the assistant coaches just a short while ago. They have most of their game plans already in place. They've got standard procedures that we will be following for the rest of this week to finish adding in whatever else needs to be added. I think for the game on Sunday, I will have to name an acting head coach. I haven't done that yet. I don't see any need to rush into that.
Ditka is 49 and was the first tight end elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, a star in the 1963 Chicago championship team, and then, of course, coached the Bears to the '85 Super Bowl title. He also owns a couple restaurants and nightclubs in the Chicago area. In baseball, the Oakland A's have captured the American League Rookie of the Year award for the third straight time. First, Jose Canseco, then Mark McGwire, and today, shortstop Walt Weiss completed the hat trick. He batted only .250 this season, but sparkled on defense. A .979 field percentage, finishing second, California pitcher Brian Harvey, with Boston shortstop Jody Reed third. The National Hockey League has been busy these days trying to crack down on violence, something the league usually ignores. The NHL suspending its fourth player this week for gooning on the ice. This time, Rangers defenseman Brian Shaw suspended 12 games for hitting Mario Lemieux across the face with a stick Sunday night. Mario's okay, but he's one of those untouchables, an incredible talent and drawing card, so he must leave him alone. NHL tonight, the Rangers lost to Buffalo. Boston over Toronto 7-2. Montreal beats Los Angeles 5-3. Bobby Smith had 2 goals. And Edmonton leading St. Louis. North Stars are at Chicago tomorrow night. Friday night exclusive to hockey, the NBA also getting into the act, and it's just finishing the exhibition season. Rick Mahorn in Detroit duked it out with Washington last week. The league investigated and today dished out fines. Mahorn heading the list at $5 grand. Then the NBA docked Larry Bird of the Celtics $3,500 for his part in the fight Saturday night, also with the Bullets. Final score, $24,500 in fines to 20 players for these 2 fights. Minnesota is becoming a hotbed for volleyball. The match between the U.S. men's team and Cuba, November 12th at the Met Center, should sell out, 15,000 seats. It would be the largest crowd ever to watch the sport in this country. Then in December, the NCAA is holding its Final Four in women's volleyball at Williams Arena, as Jim Gilliland reports.
Inches above the basketball.
Minnesota worked hard to get the bid to host the Final Four, so it's understandable that they wanted to be successful. Toward that end, coaches and players from the nation's top teams were brought to town to promote the event, including a Midwestern coach who thinks the days of West Coast domination may be numbered.
Certainly for a time to come, there will be 4, 5, 6 teams from the West Coast and Hawaii that will be always near the top of the heap. But I see things overall changing in a direction of national parity, actually.
Minnesota has had some success building a program under Steph Schluter. They've done fine on the court, but their attendance could stand a boost, something that may result if this show is a good one.
They've laid the groundwork very well here, and I think that knowing that Minnesota is now a nationally ranked team for the first time ever, consistently this year, will launch them into yet another level of excellence.
UCLA, Illinois, Texas, Arlington, and defending champion Hawaii are the early Final Four favorites for the December event at Williams Arena. Jim Gilliland, Channel 9 Sports.
Well, look forward to that.
Thank you, Perry. We'll be back right after this.
Hey, Tony, you getting in shape for a hot day?
Nah, dinner at my mother's.
Everybody's got a diet right. It doesn't matter who you are. It's gonna be a tough fight. So give yourself the greatest taste.
No, please. So you see, Ma, now I'm taking diet right. It's all free.
All for you, Uncle Tony.
Everybody's got a diet right.
From
Touchstone Pictures.
Leo, this is Molly.
Hi, Molly. Can a court determine how we should live?
This guy live with you?
Can a court determine how we should love?
Are you still seeing this man?
Can a court determine how we should raise our children?
Well, what were the rules around Molly?
Now, one woman must fight to prove she is a good mother.
I just don't see the relevance of my personal life.
You're in charge of her.
Don't you think I'm taking the rap too? Huh? How about for the rest of my life?
Diane Keaton, The Good Mother, rated R.
Starts Friday at a theater near you.
That'll do it for us. Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you tomorrow night. Good night.
The federal deficit isn't about numbers. It's about people. Eliminating the deficit will mean thousands of new jobs for Minnesota's people. It'll mean lower interest rates for our farmers and small businessmen and women. It'll make it easier for Minnesotans to buy a home. The only way to bring down the deficit is to hold the line on federal spending. I've worked hard to do that, and we've made some progress, but not enough. I need your support to finish the job.
The only thing worse than a window insulator kit that won't stay up is one that's tough to take down. Ouch! That's why you want 3M window insulator kits with genuine 3M tape from the maker of Scotch brand tapes. They're guaranteed to stay up all winter, yet come down clean and easy in the spring. No residue, no damage. Look for 3M window insulator kits. The difference is 3M tape.
If you like nuts, you'll love Cluster cereal. Clusters is the only breakfast cereal with almonds, pecans, walnuts, and honey crushed into little nut clusters and mixed with crisp flakes. If you like nuts, you'll love Cluster cereal.
Here we go. Okay.
Caring about good health care for all Americans is just one of the reasons Senator Dave Durenberger deserves your support.
This has been a very productive day.
Another is that he's doing something about it.
Thank you for all your help, Senator.
Dave Durenberger, the senator for senator.
Stay tuned. Action and adventure is just around the corner. Coming up at 10:35, catch the private eye team of Simon & Simon. And at 11:35, don't miss the explosive Rockford Files here on Receptive Channel 9.
Welcome to Love Connection. Today, you'll meet Nisha. She says that she knows the key to a successful marriage. Yesterday, the audience voted on which of these men would be best for her. Today, you'll hear who Nisha chose as her date. And you'll meet Tim. He's from a small town in Wisconsin, and he's still getting used to the big city. Which of these women did he choose? Which will our audience choose? Today on Love Connection, you'll find out, and you'll hear everything that happened on their dates. Now, here's our host, Chuck Woolery.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Nice to have you today. Good audience. All righty, let's get started by meeting our first guest. She has 13 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren. Her hobbies include sewing and designing clothes. She says that she knows just what to do when a man gets too romantic. Please welcome Nisha Godfrey. How are you? Men sometimes come on a little strong to you?
Sometimes.
Do they? What do you do?
I just laugh right in their face.
You laugh in their face? That'll get them, boy.
Well, they sit me down quick.
Yeah. What do you think is the key to a successful marriage?
Well, I think if a woman can stay married till the man's about through 45 and 50, she's got it made.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Why? What happens before then?
Oh, I think a man likes to get out and sow his oats again about that time. I think he feels that maybe he's, you know...
Starting to lose it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wants to make sure it's still there?
Yeah.
Why do I say these things? Let's remind everybody what happened yesterday. Now, yesterday, our studio audience saw Nisha's 3 choices. They voted for one. I'm going to take a look at all 3 of them, catch you up today. Here they come. First, it was Jack. Jack likes to cook and lie in the sun and swim.
And he says, women love his blue eyes. Alrighty, and then Stephen, he's originally from West Virginia, and his hobbies are ballroom dancing and playing blackjack. And then Leonard was raised in Pittsburgh, and his hobbies are swimming and running and sleeping. Now, the audience vote was recorded yesterday. We're going to get right to that a little bit later. Right now, Nisha's going to tell us who she chose. Who'd you choose?
I chose Stephen.
You chose Stephen, and there he is right there. All right. Stephen's backstage. Let's say hello to Stephen Kane. Hi, Stephen.
Hi, Chuck, and hi, Sweetie.
Chuck and Sweetie. All right. Just relax back there. Make yourself at home, Stephen.
I will.
Okay? All righty. Tell me about the date, Nisha.
Well, I chose the date, and I thought it'd be nice if we went on a harbor excursion on the showboat around San Diego Bay.
Oh,
and
that's
we
nice.
had dinner and all.
So what happened next? You get on the boat.
Well, they handed me a Mai Tai, and I certainly needed it, I'll tell you. But I was glad just they took us to a table, and we sat down, and I relaxed, and he was a very good conversationalist.
Was
It
he?
was a good thing he was, because I couldn't say a thing. I was just, you know, after all